and welcome to Legally Speaking with me, Tarun Nangia. A very, very important judgment by Justice Vikram Nath and Justice A.G. Masi. Why important? Because this judgment is being discussed all over the promoter circuit in India. A lot of businessmen discussing this judgment. What does this judgment say? It said that during the pendency of criminal proceedings, that cannot be used as an alibi to sort of put an indefinite bar on the renewal of passport of a promoter. Now, this is maybe just a passport issue for many people watching the show. But imagine a person who runs a firm or a manufacturing outfit that employs 10,000 people. He is required to travel abroad frequently, raise funds. There are so many issues. You cannot simply stop his passport renewal, which will effectively bar him from traveling. And that is what the message Supreme Court has sent. And also said that once the trial court has said that, passport renewal can be done. Of course, he requires a court's permission before traveling abroad, but you should not stop the renewal. And a very important message for that the court will listen to the concerns and stand by to ensure that business in India goes smoothly. And that is why I take this up today. I have three eminent guests joining me today. Senior Advocate Vikas Pava, a leading member of the bar, argues at the Supreme Court of India, the Delhi High Court, and other forums. Good to see you, sir. Thank you for your time. I have with me Ruby Singh Ahuja. She's senior partner with Karanjawala and Company, one of India's leading law firms at the Supreme Court of India. Good to see you, ma'am, and thank you for your time. I have with me senior advocate Nandita Rao. We requested, and she was here at a short notice, though she was traveling for an outstation hearing. Thank you for making it in time, and thank you so much for joining us on Legally Speaking. At the outset, I'll request senior advocate Vikas Pava to sort of and of course, you've appeared for this client in question because in this case, it was Mahesh Agarwal who was the accused promoter of Adhunik Metals who got the relief. So, sort of, could you explain where the court is coming from on such issues?
Thank you, Tarun, for having me today. And I think it's a very, very important issue. And I must tell the viewers as to what exactly this issue arises from. We have a Passport Act, which is of 1967. So in 1967, the Passport Act has one section, Section 6, which says that under certain circumstances, the passport authorities have a right to refuse the renewal of the passport. And two conditions which are mentioned in that section is, one, where there are some pending cases, criminal cases against someone. Second is if there is a conviction by a court which involves an offense of moral turpitude or maybe an offense which is more than 2 years of punishment. So from 1967 till about 1993, that was the law. But in 1993, the Ministry of External Affairs came up with a circular, which is a notification, which says that now we are relaxing those conditions under Section 6 and cases where the trials are pending, their permissions can be granted by the court concerned. And if the court concerned grants the permission, then the passport will be renewed. But the language of that notification is, slightly problematic. The language used in the notification was that if the accused produces orders from the concerned court permitting them to depart India. Now, that was a language which is used by, someone who must be drafting that notification. But since 1993 till now, the courts are interpreting this language. Some of the courts says that the trial courts have to grant permission and use the same language. I am permitting him to depart from India. Means every time, whenever he has to travel, he should go to the court, give the court an itinerary, and then the court will grant a permission to depart. But under normal circumstances, when the accused is facing the trial and he asks for bail, or if he is convicted and there is a suspension of sentence, the direction is that, yes, I am granting you bail, subject to the condition, if you have to travel abroad, you take our permission. That means there is no embargo on travel. But when you ask for permission, then even permissions are granted. But in spite of all this, in spite of categorical orders which were passed by the courts, the passport authorities across the board were refusing the passport on the ground. No, there is no language like depart from India given by the court. So, these cases were clubbed together, and the Delhi High Court, in fact, we had an opportunity to argue before Justice, I'm not nominating the judge, but it was before the Delhi High Court. And all those matters were clubbed and they were reserved. Yes, somewhere in August, and we were waiting for the outcome. In the meantime, Justice Vikram Nath's judgment has come, which actually has, clarified all those impediments which were created by the authority. And now the Supreme Court says that if the trial courts or the appellate courts are granting permission to travel, that is good enough. So use that permission, give it to the authority, and the passport authorities are bound to now renew the passport. Right. So this judgment, according to me, will solve a lot of problem. As you rightly says, there are businessmen, there are people who want to travel and they were unable to travel in spite of the fact that they were having permissions from the court. Now, the passport authorities cannot refuse merely on the ground that the case is pending or an accused has been convicted. Now, take for instance the case of Mr. Mahesh Agarwal. Mr. Mahesh Agarwal is the managing director of such a big company, and it is only a trial which is pending. Trial will take maybe 10 years. How do you not permit him to travel? He has businesses, he has connections, he has meetings, he has contracts all over the world. So I think it's a great relief for the corporate sector, and great relief in the normal cases also where the passports were not being renewed, maybe while the trials are pending or while the appeals are being heard. So now this will crystallize everything, and now of course the passport authorities are bound to issue the passports to all persons who are either facing the trial or they are in an appellate court.
Thank you, Mr. Pava, for your opening comment. I'll go to Ruby Singh Ahuja, senior partner with Karanjawala and Company. Ma'am, you're a partner with a leading law firm. You do a lot of fronts facing with the clients. Most of them are leading businessmen of India, and many times you may have come across these situations. Uh, what do you think is the impact of this judgment by Justice Vikram Manth and Justice A.G. Masi beyond this case, beyond Mahesh Agarwal's order where he got relief? What is the larger impact on the promoter class of such a message from the Supreme Court in the form of this order? And your opening comment along with that.
Thank you, Tarun. See, I think the message which has gone is of clarity. That, as Vikas rightly said, that you cannot withhold a renewal of a passport. What was that case? The case was that he, in fact, had a permission from Delhi High Court. And right from Menka Gandhi, they have said that you have to follow due procedure. I think when the court comes and stands by by a businessman, even for a citizen, and clarifies that, look, on this reason, A reason or B reason, which doesn't find in the books of law, do not stop you renew. As far as the restrictions on travel conditions is there, that court either it will be there or it will not be there. If you are asking for a bail, most likely there will be a restriction on travel condition, and that liberty you will always have to go to the court, but you can't stop renewal of a passport on that ground. And the message which has gone to businessmen is that whenever there is a need, I think courts want to do justice for everyone, wants to do justice for everyone, wants to ease the working of the system for people. Whenever they feel that the executive or the government, the authorities are not able to help, then the court comes forward and clarifies things, and it becomes easier for the citizens. And they don't want the citizens to be into this rigmarole of one regulation, one notification. They want to help. I don't think so it's only for businessmen, it's for everyone. There is a message which has gone that you don't stop these things without, because these are very normal things. In any other part of the world, these are normal things. You need to do them. You can't stop you because you obstruct people. Their working is obstructed. Somebody is going for a business. Somebody may be going to see his ailing parents somewhere. So these requirements, I think this is a very good judgment which has come, which has put, if there was any uncertainty, everything to rest.
Thank you for sort of explaining this and the impact of this judgment. I'll go to Senior Advocate Nandita Rao for her opening comment on this judgment, and also if she wants to comment on what Senior Advocate Vikas Pahwa and Ma'am Ruby Singh Ahuja have said. Over to you, Nandita.
Yes, I think Mr. Pava, Senior Advocate, has very clearly outlined the law. So everybody knows that, a state, this is not an imperial state which functions on the ipsi dixits of the ruler. We are a rule of law republic. So the state can only give you a passport under certain rules. It can only deny you a passport under certain rules. as a citizen, it is your right to have a passport. So I think that Mr. Pava has very nicely informed the listeners that this is the act under which, under these conditions, it can be denied and no other. And I think Ruby has very nicely added to that by saying that way back in Maneka Gandhi's case, when her travel restrictions were put, the court held this is a violation of Article 21, meaning your liberty, your right to have a passport, your right to travel can only be deprived by a procedure established by law. And that procedure is under the Passport Act. But what I find beautiful about this judgment, as a citizen, I'm jubilating it. As corporates, they will be jubilating it because it gives a reliability to the rule of law, is the language Supreme Court has used. That citizens' freedom is a constitutional right, not a state's gift. So the Passport Act very clearly says that your passport can only be denied if you are a risk to this, to the security of this country, to relations with a foreign state, and if criminal cases are pending, meaning you are a flight risk. See, there is a letter of the law and there is a spirit of the law. So there has to be a logic in the law. Suppose I have a matrimonial proceeding pending. I'm on bail. My bail conditions don't deprive me to travel. Then why should I not be given a passport? So there has to be reason to believe that you will go there and cause some mischief. You will join up with forces who are antipathetic to India. If I have a simple criminal case where the criminal court says, look, I have no problem if this person travels, if there is no logical reason that I'll be up to any mischief, then the state can't say, oh, this is my gift. I don't like you. I'm not going to renew your passport. I like you. I'm going to renew. No, there has to be non-arbitrariness, because having a passport is my constitutional right. Traveling is my constitutional right. So only by the due procedure established by law. So the Supreme Court has made it known to the government that you can only take away a citizen's right if there is a necessity. This is not a gift you are giving. You don't own my passport. I own it. It's your duty to give me a passport. So I think this is a very welcome thing, which all, one and all, we must jubilate.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Senior Advocate Nandita Rao, for sort of explaining this issue, its impact on the judgment by Justice Vikram Nath and Justice A.G. Masi. Senior Advocate Vikas Pava, for the past so many years, I have seen you not only in Delhi, but going to Chhattisgarh, going to Jharkhand to argue for who are sort of being held up in cases, passports being impounded. And I think we had this discussion some time back also, where, they are sort of troubled to an extent that many promoters who are abroad don't return to India because they fear that the passport would be impounded. And of course, the complications only increase because they fear to come to India for the fear of passport being impounded. So then the proceedings on the court feels that, he's evading sort of appearing before the authorities. And many times the promoter is simply saying that I fear if I come to India, I may not be allowed to fly back, forever sort of placing me in this country and, sort of impeding me from doing business. So it's a ripple effect. If such an order comes from Justice Vikram Nath and Justice A.G. Masi, do you see this will set the ball rolling for ensuring that if the promoter has agreed to come and submit himself before investigation whenever the authorities want, and also the charge sheet is filed or the trial is going, in those circumstances, don't prevent him from traveling? Could you lay this in perspective in also in light of what Justice of the Supreme Court have done?
I think you're absolutely right. And we see so many cases which are pending in the court where the people who are abroad would like to come back and join the proceedings. So once they join the proceedings, only then they'll be able to establish their innocence in the court. But this aspect of travel outside the country has become so rampantly misused by the authorities in the last about, say, more than a decade, that people are really scared. Even under normal cases, people don't want to come back because they know if they come back, the authorities will open a LOC against them or issue some kind of a prohibitory order to travel. And then you have to go and seek permission from the court as if you are taking permission from a travel agent. These courts have literally they have been used like this by the authorities, that even if you have to travel for a day, then you have to apply, file an application. The reason for travel is being inquired into by the authorities. Even the medical issues are being inquired into and then, commented upon by these authorities. I feel if there is an assurance which is given to an accused that even if you come back, you will not be stopped from traveling abroad. There will be no embargo, subject to certain conditions. The flight risk has to be gauged by the trial courts. Even in this judgment, Justice Vikram Nath's judgment, they have distinguished the aspect of issuance of passport, then the aspect of travel abroad. Traveling is something which needs to be gauged by the trial court because trial court is seized off with the matter. Trial court knows about the antecedents, the past criminal history, and whether there is an apprehension of flight risk or not. But issuance of passport is an executive job, which the Honorable Supreme Court now says completely different. And they have also said that if the permission is granted to travel abroad, that means the trial courts have analyzed that situation. They have seen that, yes, there is a ground where he can be permitted to go out and then come back. So there is now there is a delicate balance which has been created by the court with regard to the power of the state to regulate the travel and then citizens' right to travel abroad, which is to be looked into by the trial court. Even today, in fact, today at 4 o'clock, I argued a matter where somebody has been detained in Dubai by way of a red corner notice. When he was detained about maybe 2 weeks back, first thing which this young boy who's detained in Dubai said that, oh, I'm not aware of this case and I would like to go back and I would like to surrender. He told the authorities in Dubai that I was not aware of this case. You have now told me that there is a case against me. I would like to go back. I'm not contesting. I don't want any extradition trial. So on the basis of his innocent statement which he made in Dubai, we filed an application in the court. We said that since he has been detained and he wants to come back, protect him so that he can come back and join. But the courts said that no, now there is an extradition process. So I tried to convince the court that there is no extradition process because he wants to come back. The only apprehension he had was that if I come back, what will happen to my businesses abroad? He's a young man who's a general manager in a 5-star hotel. He says, I have to come back. I have a family here. Who will give me this assurance? Then we try to, give them that confidence. And this judgment, which we are now discussing, was also commented upon. And I had a meeting with him on the phone. I tried to explain it to him that, look, this is the judgment given by the Honorable Supreme Court now, which at least assures that your passport will be intact. Now you have to only come and try to satisfy the trial court or the higher court about the fact that you will come back if required. So you will get bail, you will be able to travel. So, this kind of judgment gives some kind of confidence to the accused who are facing the trials. Not only in India, but abroad also. We have a series of accused persons who are traveling, who don't want to come back because they don't get that confidence in the criminal justice system. So a judgment like this, or maybe some other judgment, like we have series of judgment on bails now. We know that if the charge sheet is filed without arrest, then there is a certainty that accused will be released on bail. So we want these kind of judgment to come from Supreme Court.
Yes.
Because we can't go to different high courts. Different high courts have different. Now, in this case, in a case of conviction, Delhi High Court has granted permission. Imagine a case where accused is convicted. Delhi High Court says, no, we know that he has deep roots in the society. We are granting permission. But in a pending case, the Calcutta High Court refused. So see, there is a disparity. So we want uniformity. We want that one law should be followed by all the courts. These kind of judgments certainly, will inspire confidence among the accused who are facing trials.
Taking on from what Senior Advocate Vikas Pava has said, when I speak to the promoter community, they say many times when we speak to lawyers, they always speak about it as a very small thing or a procedural thing. They say, for me, I will decide on how much money I want to commit to India basis what it is going to treat me with my passport. Once I face this experience where I'm not allowed to go abroad, given a chance, I'll divert my investments to other countries. They say, for you, it's a small thing. For me, it's a decision-making process of how I evaluate a country for my capital. So it's not as small. And, over 10, 20, 30 businessmen, it could mean thousands of crores going to some other country versus coming to mine as investment. I'll go to Ma'am Ruby Singh Abuja for her comment.
Tarun, I think what example you gave of the promoter, this whole thing which has come, I would rather put it to that pedestal that this is also a step towards ease of doing business. When the government says that you please come invest into our country, and when judiciary helps the government to lay down laws clearly and tells their passport officer that, look, you do not have a supervisory role. Whether a person can travel or can't travel, this judgment clearly says is about that the criminal court will decide whether that person is. As far as your renewal of the passport is concerned, you can only do what is there in the act. And here in this case, Delhi High Court gave permission to Mr. Agarwal to travel. So I think you're right when the promoter says that suppose he is going to face this, that his passport can be impounded if he has to travel. Now, if he has to travel, what all he has to do? He has to file an application, then a notice will be issued, then the state will come and file a reply, then the order will be passed. If suppose for God some reason the court is not sitting that day, then the day is extended. So these are the reasons where the promoters feel, or the investor confidence is not coming. So I think this judgments like this, when courts come forward and clarify and help the executive also to implement the law and not to be in any state of efflux or confusion, then this also sends a message that India is ready for its investments. India wants investment to come. I think this so when you see environment cases, when court is not, there's not an obstructionist attitude that I will not give you an environment clearance and I'm going to help you to so that you can invest in my country. These steps when courts take, I think, are very welcome steps. That is why I think this is one step to make a promoter comfortable. Promoter comfortable, a citizen comfortable, according to me. Why only promoter? This judgment will apply to everyone. Now imagine a
Everyone.
person, suppose the person doesn't have a passport, he wants to travel. Firstly, he has to go to court, get the passport permission, then he has to go to court, then get the travel permission. So at least one layer court has clarified that please don't perform any supervisory role. That's not what the passport officer is supposed to do. So I think promoters are right. These judgments help them, and this will build investor confidence in a very good way.
Point very well taken. I'll go to Senior Advocate Nandita Rao for her comment.
So I agree with everybody. If you want to be in the race of being a superpower, and simultaneously, we as the people of India, when we, freed ourselves from imperialism, we promised ourselves that we will be a democratic republic. So we don't want to colonize our own self. We are not electing our representatives to colonize us. They are not our rulers. We are electing them to run the country in a regulated manner. Now that regulation must be in the letter and the spirit of the law. And the letter of the spirit of the law includes fair trial and presumption of innocence. Yes. The most important thing in any civilized country or democracy or any criminal trial after the medieval period, is the presumption of innocence, that till I am convicted, I cannot be treated like a criminal. And part of presumption of innocence is that I have a right to bail, I have a right to travel, I have a right to run my businesses as long as I cooperate with the investigation and I appear in the court on time. Now, because you don't want to invest in your judicial system, strengthen it by increasing the number of judges, by giving it facilities, and you cannot finish trials in time. You see, the Negotiable Instruments Act came, the commercial division was set up to ensure that commercial disputes were finished off in 5 to 6 months' time. Because that is not happening, your regulators are weak, everything is coming onto the criminal thing. So a breach of contract is turning into a cheating case. And then you deny bail and it becomes an extortionist process. So somewhere the state has to step back and say, look, I'm a democratic republic, rubbing shoulders with some of the great democracies of India. I'm just 72 years young, but I have developed that culture that I'm seen as a great democracy. Now, can I be holding people in judicial custody for 3 years in an offense which is less than 7 years, just to extort, bring them to their knees? No, because then your rule of law is weak. So I think presumption of innocence and fair trial are two pillars of the rule of law, which are as important as quick recovery. And, so finally, I'm so glad that the stepchild treatment given to criminal law, because mostly it was blue collar offenses, will now change. The criminal division will get priority just as the commercial division, because no one wants to come and invest in a country where someone can just go make a small FIR against you that, I've been cheated of this amount, and you're just held up for 5 years. You can't travel, you can't work, you can't invest, you can't borrow money. And the jail authorities are folding their hands and saying, we have 300% overpopulation. Please give somebody bail. And do you know, when a well-heeled person goes to jail, it's a big responsibility for jail authorities. If they get extorted inside, if they get injured inside, it's a liability on the state. So I think this is a major, major step towards making a statement across the world that we are a great democracy. We are a country owned by the people of India, and the state is not gifting us our right. The state has to follow the law in letter and spirit.
Thank you. Thank you. We're now almost out of our time. Yes, Ruby.
I'll give you a good incident. I don't want to name the gentleman. This was a violation of a TV this what comes on TV, there's a code. What movie will come after 12 o'clock, adult movie. He's a very top guy. He came to India, so there was a violation by one of his channels. So he was going to Bangalore to Bombay for 3 days. For 3 days, full set of lawyers who specialize in criminal law had to travel with him, because nobody was sure if he'll get arrested. He won't be allowed to leave India. Law firm will be told, look, you didn't care. So there were a team of 3 people who traveled, because you never know. It's not that we know that this law is violating. We all were presuming that it can happen. So when this sort of message goes, that's dangerous. And this is a good thing which has come.
In fact, I can sort of sense what you're saying, because there was another accused. Before I take the last comment from senior advocate Mr. Pava, he used to call all his lawyers for meeting in London because he feared if he comes to India, he'll be arrested. So the lawyers told him, no, he won't be arrested. But he said, no, they will arrest me. So you come to London, I pay for your flight ticket, hotel, I give you first class. You come to London, I won't come.
So lawyers don't mind that kind of approach.
Lawyers are not complaining.
So,
one thing I would like to say, that after Justice Vikram Nath's judgment, the only judgment now, which I think after hearing what Nandita also said, we badly require judgments on bail. Although there are plenty of them, we still need clarity, because there is an inherent reluctance I see all over the country. Whichever state we go, the only thing which is the most difficult today is to seek bail, particularly regular bails where people are languishing in jail as a pre-trial detention. We certainly need clarity. We certainly need judgments which are, authoritative, which are binding under Article 141 to all the courts in the, country, where bail becomes a rule and jail becomes an exception. In spite of the fact that it is being reiterated every 5 years by the Honorable Supreme Court, I still feel there's an inherent reluctance in the minds of judges, both in the lower judiciary as well as in the High Court, where bails are not being granted. And Nandita rightly says, just imagine 300% overcrowding. A cell which is or a barrack which is required, which requires about 60-70 people, have 150, 200 people. People are, and this is from horse's mouth, people are sitting with the back to their wall throughout the night and sleeping. Can you believe it? Throughout the night. They don't have place to even lie down. Yes. This is from a horse's mouth of a young man who unfortunately got involved and then released in a case. His story will tell you the reality of Tihar. Reality.
Which is regarded as one of the better jails of the country.
Yes, that is, one of the best in the world, as they say. because they are the one who are sending the reports to England now, saying that our jail is one of the best in the world. But they don't have place to sleep. They don't have food to eat. There's an extortion racket which going on. And imagine these businessmen, these educated people who may be falsely implicated, may not be, but they need trial and they need to be released on bail. They all are languishing. So we certainly need these kind of judgment. This is just a start. I would say this passport judgment is a welcome judgment, timely judgment, but we certainly need something on bail now, desperately.
I take your statement as a leader of the bar, so you speak on behalf of all advocates.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Senior Advocate
I
Vikas
just wanted
Pav.
to add a line that this will even help, intellectual students, because these days cases are being filed against anything, a tweet, a disagreement,
Yes.
a smile, a wink.
Yeah.
So at least they'll have their passports and they can keep smiling and winking and defending themselves,
No, you're right. I mean, unfortunately, some kids do end up like this, and it's really, really heartening to look at the situation. Thank you, Senior Advocate Vikas Pava, Ruby Singh Ahuja, Senior Partner, Karan Jawala and Company, Senior Advocate Nandita Rao. Thank you for making time for this important issue that concerns liberty, and also right to travel is an right under Article 21. You all spoke on that, and of course, we say promoter class many times also because these people generate, and run the wheels of the economy. That's why they remain important and they are to be respected for their contribution to our country. Thank you so much for joining in. Thank you.
For more such videos, subscribe to the Newsx YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.